Hey, welcome to the Doing Business with ADHD podcast. Have you ever noticed how getting work feels personal, doing work feels overwhelming, getting paid feels awkward, and building wealth feels impossible? It's not because you're bad at business. It's because your business wasn't built for ADHD. Let's change the rules. Hey, thanks for joining us on the Doing Business with ADHD podcast. I'm Jake Brown. I'm a business coach and consultant for leaders with ADHD.
Hey, and I'm Bogia-Curles, certified financial planner and founder of the first wealth management firm that caters just to ADHD entrepreneurs.
Man, Caleb, I am really excited to finally be kicking this off. I know you and I both talked about our experience in the past with ADHD, and it's one of those things where it's we got real excited about this project and just getting it under us and moving it forward. Like, I'm just excited to be doing that. I know that a lot of our listeners, they know that too. Just this idea is like, we have these great ideas and then actually taking action and seeing it come to life. Like you mentioned a little bit ago off air, that we're looking at like a year into this dream, and we're just real excited that it's like, it's real.
Yeah, it's finally here. This is the moment. I think hopefully this is going to help a lot of people, and I think we're just going to have a lot of fun with it too. I'm pumped for this.
Oh yeah. So what we are going to talk about, like I said in the intro, is the way that we approach business. Business is not designed for the ADHD brain. The way that most people do it, the rules that are in place, they just don't fit us. It causes a ton of friction. And over the years of working with leaders, and through our conversations, we've really boiled it down to these 4 phases: get work, do work, get paid, and grow wealth. And in this episode, what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly define each of those and what they mean to us as business owners. We each own our own business. We're running our own businesses at different phases. We've been doing it for a few years, and I know you're still kind of you've been doing what you do, but being on your own, controlling everything. It's you're kind of in the that first couple year honeymoon / I'm great at what I do business thing.
Yeah, man. Still definitely working on get work.
So as we are kind of, how do those kind of systems, how do those pockets apply to us with ADHD? Because like we've mentioned, the rules are just different. We play by a different set of rules, and the rules change. You mentioned this again. You had mentioned. Go ahead and say about the kids playing board games.
Oh, my word. Yeah. So this is actually something I realized as we were talking that I had written in my book. It just kind of dawned on me when you talked about breaking the rules. And I'm like, shoot, I have never played a board game with an ADHD kid, my own kids included. And I think my parents and all my older family members would have said this about playing board games with me. ADHD kids either love to cheat or just change the rules of the game constantly. And I think we never got to do that in our board games as kids, but now in life we get to. We don't have to go to college and go get the perfect W-2 job and retire with the perfect 401k. We have different options available to us, and that's what I love about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for sure. I love that idea of like the cheating and changing the rules. It's like we get hyper focused on where we're going, and everything between here and there just becomes very gray. Like, we get to do that. And just to be clear, I do want to point out that neither Caleb or I, neither one of us are therapists. So like, we're not licensed therapists. So what we're saying about ADHD, like, this is our own experience and talking with clients that have ADHD and stuff. So if you need help, get like certified help. And at the same time, there are things that are laws and things that are rules. And what we talk about, like breaking the rules and bending the rules and the expectations of society and business, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about breaking rules. Like, don't do that. Like, I recommend people all the time, a bookkeeper, CPA, and lawyer, hire them very early, especially if you have ADHD. There's something called ADHD tax, and it's where executive functions just go sideways, and it costs us money, costs us time. You don't want your ADHD tax to land you in jail. So that's why I always say find those professionals to help. So anyway, getting into the framework a little bit. We're just gonna, like I said, we're gonna cover them very quickly this episode, and in future episodes we'll dive in deeper into each one. So starting off with get work. If you're running a business, starting a business, like, if you don't have work, you're not a business, you're a hobby. Like, that was a painful lesson I had to learn. And I know, Caleb, you've mentioned before, like, when you start the business, you're doing all this stuff, and we act like employees. we hit our to-do list and we knock out all this stuff and we're trying to work really hard to build the thing, but nobody's paying us. And there has to, like, we have to get paid when we start our business. And then as you continue to grow your business, there has to be a plan for getting more work. Like, you can't grow, you can't project 3 months, 9 months, 12 months out. You should be able to. If you're building a business properly, you have a plan and a system, and you can project what it takes to get work. But with ADHD, we procrastinate, we forget to follow up with people. It's just, getting work is kind of double-edged. One, it's really, really boring just to do the admin stuff of getting work. And on the second side, it's really, really fun to get the contracts, to get the work, to win, like to have those conversations with people and win. Like, yes, I got it. You nail down the work. Well, then we go into do work. And that's where you actually have to like make good on the promises that you made. And this is the one that I have always struggled, going from get work to doing work. That's the hardest one for me because there's like massive dopamine hit. As soon as I like land the contract, I close it, great, we're in. And then it's like, well, the first steps to actually doing work, it's like, like now I got it grown up, now I got to do it. In that part of just what is the system for doing the work? How do you trigger the three, when you think of executive function issues with ADHD, we have a lot of friction with our executive functions. And there are three of them that have really stood out the most to me when it comes to doing work. And they're activation, focus, and effort. And activation is like getting started. It's like, that's the task. I know how to do it. It'll only take me 5 minutes. Great. Yet it takes me an hour to convince myself or work up the energy to actually start that little task. And that one causes a lot of problems for me. That's my biggest friction when it comes to ADHD, is just activation, starting the thing. And then focus is the one that's like picking the right thing to do. I've always found, which tell me your experience with this, Caleb, with ADHD, really great at concentrating. I actually am really good at concentrating. I'm really bad at picking what to concentrate on. Like,
Oh my word, dude. Yeah, like right before we recorded, my wife came in and she's like, "Oh, you getting ready for the podcast?" And I turned and looked at her and I'm like, "Oh, shoot. Yeah, that's coming up here soon." No, I'm actually trying to figure out how to stack two loans on top of each other to get a 2% car loan on the Ford Transit that we're going to need to buy next year to house all of our kids, right? We're like outgrowing our minivan with 5 kids. She's like, "Why are you worrying about this next year? Like, also, what does an interest rate matter?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What is the interest rate?" My financial nerd was going nuts. But like, this is next year, and I wasn't worried about the podcast in 20 minutes too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like really good focus, but I just can't control what, when, or where it focuses on.
we just can't aim it. So yeah, that's focus.
Yeah.
It's like, so we talk about activation, we talk about focus and effort. I like to think of effort as like the last 10%. Like that's the thing that it's the executive function that just helps you finish something and get across the finish line. And that one for me always stalls out because as soon as I've proven to myself that I can do something, then it's like really hard for me to put any more effort into it. It's like, oh yeah, that would work. And then it's hard to finish. So when it comes to doing work, having that idea where activation, okay, so you sold the contract, you got the work. Now you're doing the work. Okay, get in and start the tasks. There's a lot of friction built up there, which we'll dive into more later. And then, the focus, staying on focus, choosing which thing you're concentrated on. Well, that's hard. And then effort, just finish it. Like, is it good enough? Okay, maybe not. Or the idea is like, it's almost good. Excuse me, do you know, do those resonate with you? Like the effort one, like of the three, which one do you say shows up more in your day-to-day? Which friction do you feel?
Yeah, I would say that effort one is really big. Like getting the last 10% of the way across the line. Like this is outside of the finance world or my business, but there's been different things over the years, even like nonprofit leadership roles that I've held, student government back in college, right? Random things that I've just been like, okay, I'm the 90% guy. I can go from 0 to 90. I'm completely disinterested in getting the last 10% done, but I know other people who are really good at squeezing the last little bit of optimization out of something. So I've learned over the years just to hand that off. And I actually just did that last year before starting the business. And man, that was such a smart move to have the time lined up, but it went really well because I realized I need those people who are really excellent farmers who can just sit and develop or cultivate a plot of land, but I'm just the hunter. I just enjoy going out there, finding something to shoot my bow and arrow at, and I don't really want to clean it and cook it, but I'll get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll go get it. Yeah, like go get it. It's that idea, that quick action movement. I love it. And like I said, talking to people, and the more I've spent time just, I've talked to hundreds of business owners with ADHD, and it's actually, I'm pushing 1,000 at this point with my stuff, but it's like those three show up in the do work all the time. There's more executive function, but those three just, they just cause so much friction for us. And then, then we move from, once you do the work, now you get paid. Well, you have to have a system for getting paid, because I've talked to a lot of people that forget. Like, they get so excited, so they finish the project, but then they go out and sell something else, or they do whatever, and they forget that last part of you actually have to invoice your work. And I was talking to a guy not too long ago, and we were just going through some of his, his executive functions and looking through how is it affecting his business, some of the friction points. And he wouldn't hire a bookkeeper. He wouldn't hire somebody to handle his invoicing, and he didn't trust the software yet. He didn't want to pay a subscription for software. And we went and looked, and he had invoices that were 9 months. Like, he should have sent them 9 months ago, and he didn't.
Wow.
And I was like, so what is not buying the software costing you? Like, you don't want to pay $20 a month, but you just left, I'm talking like 6 figures, just not invoiced, because he was focused in our mind. That's an asset. That's something, like, that bill's out there and it's mine. In our world, it works that way. And I've got some stories, personal stories, that have been painful for my family where I've done similar things. And it's like, well, is it invoice? Well, I can just invoice that when I need it. Well, if you add on top of it time blindness and stuff, now we're looking at, you're 9 months in and that guy got free work. Like, it's going to be really hard to, recoup that late.
Yeah. So tell me, Jake, like, when do people realize that? I'm sure nobody just wakes up and 9 to 12 months later and is like, oh man, I've sure missed out on some compound interest that could have been in the bank if this money was sitting there not working for me. I clearly didn't need it to pay my bills, but like, when do they notice?
I would say sometimes they did need it to pay their bills. Like, usually what happens is they need to pay bills and they go panic, and then they go look and say, well, where did I forget to collect money? I've been so busy doing other stuff. Now where do I go back and collect money? And that's usually the point. There's some kind of money reason, or it's tax time, or there's something happening that reminds them. Or one that I've also found really funny is when somebody else collects money from them. It's like, oh, hey, we need you to pay this bill. Oh, right. And then it triggers in their mind, well, what bills have I not? They basically say, oh, yeah. And they turn around and look off to the other side, and they're like, oh, this is all money that's owed to me. But the other thing is, with, ADHD and rejection sensitivity dysphoria, like this idea that we always expect to be rejected, and then it hurts. It's very painful to us when it happens. When you go back and try to collect money that's late, like, you feel like you're breaking the relationship, and we feel like asking for money. Same thing with getting work. When you ask for money, when we put a money number on to a project, or when we go back and ask for the money, it hurts us. It really feels like we are ruining a relationship. And that's where I like to tell people, externalize everything that you can. Make it not you having to do it. Put it out there, assign it, delegate it. And as far as invoicing, like we mentioned, have a system. As soon as you can afford it, pay for something to handle your invoices. Like, it can automatically send them, like, schedule it. Like, let that happen, because you won't feel bad about it. You'll get paid. Like, that relationship will be smoother, and you won't feel the guilt or the weight of it, and you won't forget to send an invoice. And then you won't be like, okay, I'm going to back up, because ADHD, this is what we do. We were talking, one of my good friends was talking about, he runs his business, and he said they were sitting down, and his wife was talking about how they were getting ready to do groceries. Like, yeah, well, let's create the grocery list. So she started creating the grocery list or whatever. and he realized he hadn't paid himself yet that month. Like he forgot to run payroll. He's the only employee inside of his business. He has contractors, but he realized I haven't paid myself. Like if my wife goes and gets like, can we buy groceries? I don't even know if we financially have personal money, because in his mind it was all taken care of and it just needed to be moved. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it just hasn't been moved to the right places yet. And it's like, this guy's very successful. Like things are going great for him and everything like that. So he just didn't remember to run his payroll. Even though he uses a system that sends him an email every month that says, push this button and run payroll, he just was so focused on other things that, getting paid and then him personally getting paid from the business, which we'll cover that even, that's a wormhole we're not going to go down right now, but the idea of like legally paying yourself, like that's depending on how you're structured, how your business is structured, that's a big deal. And that's one that I find a lot of entrepreneurs and even small business owners with ADHD, they're skirting and they're not set up in a safe way, to where the business and personal are truly, they talk about piercing the veil. There's like a clear divide between those two entities. So now we've talked about getting work, then you do the work. Now you've gotten paid. Now this is the part that is really scary, and it honestly feels like a pipe dream. It's growing wealth. And I just want to real quick define the way that I define growing wealth is putting money to work. And the idea is the whole reason of having a business in my mind is so that it prints money on the other side. Like money shows up after the business is run, like every month, whatever, there's extra money. And then you take that money and you put it back to work for you so that it is gaining, assets. And I think for a lot of people with ADHD, the first three are so hard, getting work, doing work, getting paid. Those are so hard and so frustrating. There's so much friction there that we think of growing wealth as this, like I said, it's like this pipe dream thing that we'll never get to. It just seems impossible. That's for other people. That's for like rich people. That's for normal thinking people. And I think it's actually, in my experience, it's actually easier for us, because if we have a plan and we will have money that we can hide from ourselves, like put it in the different bank account, like do wise things with it over here where it's out of our view, like out of sight, out of mind. If that money's working for you and you're not seeing it, like we're better at ignoring things than, most people. Like it just, with ADHD, it's just how we operate. It can be a problem in some instances, but it's also, in this scenario, if you have a plan and if it's a long game plan and you're letting it play out, this just plays straight into how we are designed, how we are wired. So I know you want to talk a little bit about I want to hear your thoughts, because when it comes to the growing wealth, that is by far in your wheelhouse. That is your expertise. For me, I'm like, let's get money on that side of the bit. Like, let's get money to do something with. And I focus my efforts on, get work, do work, get paid. It's like, great, we got paid. Now there's this profit. Now there's this money. And that's where I think you're just phenomenal. Your wisdom and your expertise there is going to be so valuable for everybody. I know it's been valuable for me. So thinking through that framework, do you have any thoughts you want to add or lean into any of them?
Yeah. I mean, this could go like obviously super deep, and it will over the course of this show. And as we continue to get deeper into the episodes and talk about very specific issues. But I would say just from a basic framework here, it comes down to painting your business as an asset rather than a liability on your life, not even your money. Money is just a tool to accomplish your personal goals in life. And so if you're looking and you're saying, man, I would love to be doing X, Y, Z, but instead I have this business that I own. I don't even have PTO. I can't go take a vacation. Like my boss is terrible. He yells at me inside my head and all these other things. And really, like you just have a low or maybe high paying job if you're lucky, and that's all your business is. So many guys get stuck there. Jake, I don't know if you ever, I'm sure you've heard of Robert Kiyosaki. He was the guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Interesting dude, pretty controversial figure at times. But financially, he's really defined our entrepreneurial world. He had this thing called the cash flow quadrant, and I've heard of it numerous times. You might have heard of it if you've ever been pitched by an Amway person about a multi-level marketing scheme. But in any event, so there's like four different ways that you can get money. Number one is as an employee. Number two is self-employed. Number three is a business owner. And yes, there's a distinction between those two. That's a huge thing that comes up at enterprise sale value when somebody's looking to exit, because we all do exit someday, whether that's by choice, by health, by the business failing. A lot of that you can engineer from the get-go. And then the final one's investor. And so a lot of people will just say, I'm going to be an employee and I'm going to work forever and build up this 401k. And then after 45 years in the labor pool, I'm going to retire, take the 401k, cruise off into the sunset. But for the business owner, you have way more options available to you. Like, you don't just have to take the boring, okay, max fund your Roth IRA every year, contribute to your 401k to get the match, and then any extra you can throw into the 401k. Like, it goes so much deeper than that. You have enterprise value. You have 6 different criteria by which your business gets valued, and it can make the difference. I mean, I think I told you one time, Jake, the whole purpose why I'm remote first and probably going to stay remote only from the beginning was not just to be more flexible with my family, but RIAs, or registered investment advisories, like the type of work that I do, the sale multiple on an in-person practice is something like a 3 to 5 times number. So if I was making 100,000 a year, it would be like 300 to 500K would be a sale value someday. But by being remote, I've increased my sale multiple from 7 to 9 times because it makes it easier for a buyer anywhere in the country to get me. So now that's like double the value of the business.
That's a great point. Like, the idea of when we are building our business, you need to build your business, or I don't want to say you need to. You can choose to. If you want to make your business an asset that you sell at the end, then how do you build your business as a product that's purchasable? And then you go, okay, how do I make it so that it's more valuable? And like you mentioned, like, okay, if you have a facility, if it's a place and people only come to you and all that, like, well, now you're geographically limited and everything, and that is the product. But if you build your business in a way that is more enticing for a higher dollar sell at the end, or even opens it up to other investors. Like, somebody, if you're local, then only people local can do it. But like, somebody from Washington could invest, could turn around and buy your company. Great. It doesn't matter. It makes it, it's intentional. And I think that's what we find with a lot of businesses with ADHD is we're afraid of being intentional because things get so complicated, and we think that if we're intentional, it's going to be rigid, and we can't be flexible. We can't have the fun that our dopamine brain, like the dopamine, the crave, the fun, the chaos, because that's how we're made. And we go, okay, well, if we can, that's why we come up with these 4, pockets in our framework. It's like, how do we make them simplified enough to where they're understood, but leave them broad enough to where we can still have fun and create inside of each one of them. So, man, we could keep going on forever and ever, but I do want to keep this one short. So, as I said, when we're moving forward, we are going to start out, we're going to dive deeper into these 4 pockets. With doing business with ADHD, it's hard. Doing business alone is hard. Launching and building a business is hard. And then all of the friction that life throws at us when we have ADHD. I mean, just, a lot of times it's like, I like to think, is this project, am I excited about this? Am I going to wake up on a Tuesday morning and be like, yes? Like, that's not very much in work. That's, you're not going to have a business and go, man, I get to send invoices today, and like jump out of bed on Tuesday morning. Like, there's just so much of it that doesn't, fit that. But we're going to talk about these. We're going to go, I'm going to share stories. Like, we're going to talk about the pains that we felt, us, friends, just things that we've seen. And yeah, we just want to build this as a place where it's safe to, safe to have squirrels. It's chase, they're chasing you around. It's safe to do weird things, to interrupt, to circle back, loop around, say the same thing 3 times as you figure out what you're doing. Yeah, we're not going to be polished. We're gonna try and be real and try to move forward from what we've learned and try to make space for other people. Because let's be honest, the business rules, all the gurus, all the stuff that they've told us, it just doesn't fit right. And Caleb and I, we're not going to be right. We're not going to tell you this is the only way to do things. But we are going to say, this is what we found. Adjust it, tweak it, run with it. We just want to keep you moving, because as long as we are moving in business with ADHD, we will find our way. But when we lock up and stop, that's where we start to second guess, and that's when the businesses start to struggle. And that's where life gets heavy. So anyway, you have any closing things you want to say, Caleb?
Yeah, I guess I just want to piggyback on what you said of like, this is a place where it's safe. I mean, welcome to the club of people who've almost had their electricity shut off when they very much had the money to pay for it, but just forgot or didn't prioritize it. Like, this is where we're at. This is real life for cell phones, or you probably have some examples too. But I'm supposed to be the finance dude for ADHD people. This stuff still hits me. Like this is what we're up against, and there's a very real path to success here. A lot of people want a nice middle class life to kind of sit on the fence somewhere between upper and lower, but ADHD is almost like an electric fence. Like, you don't really get a great choice. It makes middle class really hard because the same inputs that you put into that become just difficult. Like, to be consistent, to be disciplined, to be steady, it's not in our nature, and that's okay. That's a good thing. We were made the unique way that we were. And so I'm just super pumped to explore all these themes together, and hope to have some really good engagement with you, whoever's listening to this. I would love to engage with you.
All right. Now for that fun disclaimer. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm going off the cuff. Like, subscribe, click, share, whatever. If you know somebody, if you've enjoyed this, hit us up. Let us know. Share. It's going to be a fun journey. But yeah, we really just want more people to find out. Send us questions, whatever things you're dealing with. But hey, hang in there. We're in this together. And so let's go change some rules. Hey, welcome to the Doing Business with ADHD podcast. Have you ever noticed how getting work feels personal, doing work feels overwhelming, getting paid feels awkward, and building wealth feels impossible? It's not because you're bad at business. It's because your business wasn't built for ADHD. Let's change the rules.